I want to bring in now Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia from California, the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. Congressman, did you experience anything unusual when you went to look at the Epstein files, the unredacted files at the DOJ? And what do you make of that DOJ explanation?
I mean, first, the explanation is horrific and bogus. I mean, let's be really clear. The DOJ and Pam Bondi are essentially spying on members of Congress and what they're searching for in the Epstein files. I think that Speaker Johnson is right to make his comments, but that was not an oversight. I mean, that clearly is intentional. Now, I was very careful, of course, when I was looking through the files. I mean, there were staff members there from the DOJ. And I think a lot of us suspected that our searches could be traced, but to actually see it happen and actually know that that's actually what they did is pretty stunning, especially because we know that the DOJ has been involved in a massive White House cover-up from day one. I mean, Pam Bondi is the one that said that the files were on her desk. Donald Trump said this whole thing is a hoax. They tried to end this whole investigation early on. And now what they've actually shown the Congress, to be very clear with the public, is only 50% of what they have in their possession. And they've decided not to release the remaining 50%, which is against the law, by the way. And then of what they released, it is highly, highly over-redacted. There's information there that's redacted that shouldn't be. There's names. I personally saw names of billionaires and very powerful people that had no business with their names being redacted. And yet they're not redacting names of survivors and the victims of rape and sexual abuse. So the whole thing is shameful. And quite frankly, Pam Bondi should resign or should be removed from office.
What do you think Republicans will actually do about this? We heard Speaker Johnson say this is not appropriate, but calling it an oversight. So will Republicans take action on this one?
I mean, they should. It's definitely not an oversight. I talked to a couple of Republicans when this news broke. They were pretty surprised and stunned as well. You've had a couple of them actually say that this is not appropriate. And they're right. I mean, look, the Epstein files across the country is maybe the most bipartisan issue. Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everyone agrees that there should be justice for these survivors. But that energy needs to be matched by the White House and President Trump. Donald Trump right now has the power to release the remaining files. He has the power right now to ensure that Congress gets the unredacted files. He has the power to ensure that the victims get justice. Yet he refuses to do so. They refuse to meet with the survivors. Pam Bondi won't even look at the survivors in a public hearing. And I think the question has to be asked, why? Why the cover-up? Why doesn't Donald Trump want information out to the public? Why has he been trying to hide all the information that is in the files? And why do we continue to learn so many horrific things about folks in the Trump administration, whether it's Howard Lutnick, whether it's Alex Acosta, whether it's now other ambassadors and appointees? I mean, this has become something that, quite frankly, is the single largest cover-up in the modern era of politics. And we've got to get justice for these survivors.
So you mentioned the president. You mentioned Howard Lutnick. Our own Jake Traylor just asked the president as he was departing from the White House if Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick should resign for lying about his relationship with Epstein. Trump didn't really answer that question and just kept moving down the line. Do you think Lutnick should resign?
100% he should resign. And let's be very clear about what Howard Lutnick did. He said in a pretty, in a substantial interview that he had not interacted with Jeffrey Epstein after 2005. We now know that that is a bold-faced lie. Not only did he continue to interact with Jeffrey Epstein, he went to his island. He went into business together. He communicated with him through third parties. His wife communicated with Jeffrey Epstein. And the critical piece of this is a lot of this communication, including the visit to the island, was after it was public that Jeffrey Epstein had been abusing girls and women. And then this man now becomes our Commerce Secretary? It's disgusting and it's shameful. And Howard Lutnick has no business being a cabinet secretary in this government. It's a disgrace. It's an insult to the survivors, and he should immediately resign or be removed.
Do you get any sense from your Republican colleagues that they may put pressure on the president to do away with Howard Lutnick?
I think that you are beginning to hear from some Republicans, and I've heard these privately, that they're very concerned about the amount of folks in the White House orbit that are either involved in this cover-up or where more information continues to come out. And this, I think, Howard Lutnick example is one of them. And there's a lot more to come. There'll be a lot more information that's going to come out. And I think it's to me, it's pretty startling how much of it is around Trump's circle.
I want to ask you and then have Rev respond to this, and then John. A number that Heilman and I keep talking about that stand out is his collapse of support among really Donald Trump's base, and that is non-college voters. He's down 25% with non-college voters. I connect this to the Epstein class. Also connect this to calling affordability a hoax. So many of these voters are the same voters that can't afford their rent, can't afford their health care, can't afford to send their kids to college, can't afford the things that they thought they were going to be able to afford to pursue the American dream. And when you start seeing non-college voters support for Donald Trump and Republicans cratering, that's the 5-alarm fire, right?
Well, because there's something at the base of that, too, right? It's that because non-college voters have been moving to Republicans for a while now. And if they see that there is nothing underneath that their belief that Donald Trump and the Republicans were on their side, and that the evidence is very much to the contrary. And, I'll add something to your list. How about canceling the Gateway Project, right? There are hundreds of workers that got layoff notices that said don't report to work on Monday because Trump is just holding the money because he wants an airport in Virginia named after him. All of the clean energy projects that were underway, the wind projects that were underway, people have lost their jobs because of this. And this does not go unnoticed among working class voters. So I think that it's not just bad news for the Trump administration. It suggests something larger is collapsing in how they're looking at the two parties.
I also think that people do not realize it is natural for people to identify with something that reflects them. I've been in civil rights all my life. People would fight saying that could be my kid if it's Trayvon Martin or something like. We look at these victims. These victims are young children that look like some of the people in the base of Donald Trump. And they're saying, wait a minute, that could be my daughter. Or the two victims in Minneapolis, that could be my daughter. So I think the fact that they can relate to the victims here, that you can't other them, is hurting Trump and Trump's base. The other part of this, there's a scripture in Proverbs 6th chapter. You are ensnared by the words of your mouth. They made Epstein and bring the Epstein files out. They made that an issue. So they're being ensnared by their own issue. They put it out there. They campaigned on it. Now they're coming back to reap what they sowed. And I have a fellow preacher now in Reverend Mika. We can preach this on Sunday because oh yeah, you preached on yesterday. I was jumping up and down. But clearly they made this an issue, and that's what's come to haunt them. And how do you tell people that you got excited about this Epstein issue, that all of a sudden we're not answering, we're stonewalling, I don't know anything, and the Epstein class is all over my cabinet?
Yeah, it's not just that they made it an issue, it was one of the issues. You kept talking about sexual trafficking, child trafficking. You kept having conspiracy theories, people showing up at pizza joints, shooting places up. You had movies out about a guy, and I heard this like a year or so ago. Oh, there's this guy who's a hero, and he went out and they made a movie about him for breaking up, child trafficking rings. Ends up, he was charged with improper behavior. Our people were saying that he conducted, but there was just this obsession, rightfully, on child trafficking, rightfully. But what happened to it? Where did it go? MTG still cares about child trafficking in the MAGA base. Who else does? What? I don't get it. Thomas Massie still cares about child trafficking. But are you really telling me that people that were obsessing about child trafficking and just making up shit every day about Hollywood stars, about famous people being like aliens and child predators and all of this other stuff, they suddenly just go dark, go quiet, because now they don't want to know the truth. Now, we've actually got
Trump staff are panicking and preparing to leave because the polling numbers are collapsing. They expect Trump to blame them, and they're getting ready for that. This isn't to say they are innocent or good at their jobs. Many of them aren't, but in many cases, the root of their failure, even their possible wrongdoing or immorality, comes from defending Donald Trump. They're acting based on what he has told them to do, employed he wants, or what they believe helps protect him. So even for people who may deserve consequences, there is frustration that they could fall while the main figure avoids it. Many of them are angry about that, and it's understandable. The polls are dropping fast. Poor performance from figures like Bondi and others may hurt Trump, but Trump himself is a main issue. If he acted like a normal president, even with weak cabinet members, his numbers wouldn't be historic loss. People might criticize the cabinet, but his approval would likely be average or slightly below. The real problem in his policies, not just how they are carried out, but the ideas behind them. His tariff policy, his legal strategy, and his approach to ICE. The issues run deeper than personal. As a result, anyone closely tied to Trump, whether directly responsible or disconnected, is facing backlash and growing increasingly frustrated.